Hello.
Hi.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We're going to get started shortly. I think a lot of folks are here. I know we also have folks who have other commitments, some work related, some not so much. Um, but we are delighted that we have everyone with us today. We are this is our second summit, and it's an opportunity for us to get to know one another and to learn what's going on with the organization. And we have a very special treat today with William Reynolds from the Kaplan Foundation, who's going to give us a perspective from outside of Heritage. So we thank you, William, for joining us today. We have three presentations that are going to deal with heritage resilience, and then we have a case study on our successful activities in the Gambia, and then we will have breakout sessions, which really are two real goals here are to get to know one another better and to hear from our colleagues in a setting with fewer people, but also to gain information from you in reference to increasing client recruitment and also to evaluate how our programs are relevant to the folks who are participating in them. So looking forward to that, and that's going to be guided by the team, the education team led by Fatini. And so we thank them for joining us in the preparation for this meeting as well. And so without further ado, everyone knows who Evangelos is. And so he is going to introduce Will, as well as make a welcoming remarks. It's on you now, sir.
Thank you, sir. um, so, uh, guys, it's really wonderful. It's like a party for me, to a digital party, to see everybody. And I know that many of you are in very different places. And I know that some of us that are not able to participate will be watching this. So for those watching, it's great to be here and great to celebrate 1 year since the last summit. In the last summit, we tried to present what we're doing, to present ourselves. And although there are new people since then, I would just wanted to say that networking and meeting one another is very, very important for what we're doing and for the team building, and finding every opportunity we can to participate in common events is really the way forward. A lot have happened since last year, a lot to celebrate. But I think there are two important developments. The first development is that we have completed the first part of the granting program that we have been doing in the African continent. There are now close to 85 projects that are under management one way or another, either as fiscally sponsored project or as direct grants from our organization, which means that this has been not only a lot of work, but also a lot of good insights on how heritage is working in the continent, what enormous breadth and wealth of heritage there is in the African continent, and also extraordinary experience for all of us working with our colleagues in Africa, some of which will be watching this or will be seeing this, will be joining us later on. Another development, so this is going to continue. We find this particularly important for what we're doing because this is a fantastic opportunity to capacity build. It's a fantastic opportunity to work with colleagues that are doing projects, and when we're doing our capacity building training, that we offer training that is implemented that is put to use and that is on the job for the people that are working on projects. But capacity building is not only about training. The very essence of these small grants has been to capacity build, to submit concept notes, to run a project, and to deliver reporting on the project. We have been delivering courtesy of the regranting team. So thank you, Richard, Angelos, Tim, Dimitra, Asimina, for making this happen. The network meetings have been very important because, as you have seen, I think most of you have seen that there is a great variety of projects. Some are fantastic, some are weaker, some are from bigger organizations, some from very small organizations, some are from people that are not in an organization. So a unique experience. And then the second thing that has happened this year is there is a big expansion of the projects. The projects that have been kind of applied projects in other countries, and we will present 4 out of 5 of these projects. There is a project in Yemen, which is not going to be presented this year, hopefully in another year, as both Maya and Hedaya, who are working on this, are unavailable for different reasons. There is a program in Pakistan with some great partners in the Italian School of Archaeology, which is not here, but with also Esanur Associates, and you have seen Salman and Kashif here. Thank you guys for coming and presenting this project. It's been a fantastic opportunity to work with you. There has been an Iraq project which is not going to be presented directly, but Will has been uniquely responsible for, because it has been funded by the Kaplan Foundation. And there has been a follow-up project thanks to that, which was, well, it stopped in its infancy because of the Trump administration changes in foreign aid. And there has been a completed project in Turkey that is going to be presented hopefully by Çağla. She has some problems with her camera, but I think she will be, oh, there she is. She doesn't have any problems with her camera anymore. And that was completed from last year, but I think it makes full sense to present it now. So these projects actually not only give us a tremendous opportunity to apply capacity development, to strengthen our networks, but it also gives us the opportunity to create or apply training directly. So we have decided, and we've taken this strategic decision to participate in consortia around projects that do physical interventions ourselves, because this way we would be able, in the unique position, to design the capacity building elements around these projects. So I will shut up now, and I wanted to pass the baton to Will Raynolds. Will has been a very important stakeholder for us, not only as responsible for heritage in the James Kaplan Foundation, but actually for being a great scholarly friend and also a great proponent of what we're doing. Will, with the Kaplan Foundation, thanks to Will, has supported our Iraq project, which opened up the doors for a follow-up Iraq project, the one that was stopped at its infancy. Will invited us to participate in a networking meeting of the Yemeni organizations in Amman in Jordan, which is largely responsible for our project in Yemen. Will has been a great proponent, not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of heritage, of using heritage as a tool, one way or another, to reconnect communities and professionals in countries in conflict, in countries in crisis. So, Will, thank you for being here, and thank you for all your good energy and support all these years. I will let you speak and.
Yeah, thank you very much for the warm welcome, Evangelos. And I've met some of you on the screen. And for those that I haven't met before, it's a pleasure to be with you here today. And I'm delighted just to hear the brief updates that Evangelos was giving about all the different work that Heritage has been completing here in recent months. Anyway, thanks to all of you for your good hard work to make that possible. So the prompt for me today was to share a bit of perspective about commitments to heritage in conflict in particular. And you heard from Evangelos at Kaplan, we've made contributions or supported the work of heritage when it comes to supporting the consortium of different organizations and colleagues in Iraq and also in Yemen. And broadly speaking, we would consider that at some arc of the sort of post-conflict or conflict protection or heritage recovery as circumstances permit. Let me start just by giving you a bit of background about the Kaplan Fund, just so you have more of a sense of where I'm coming from, where this perspective is coming from. The Kaplan Fund was started nearly 80 years ago at the moment where a company selling grape juice in the United States was sold to a cooperative of growers growing grapes in upstate New York. And that created this family foundation that's continued ever since and is now run by our board of trustees, who are the third generation of that family. And really, since its inception, there's been some focus on the built environment. But I'll say most of the work that we do at Kaplan is domestic in the United States. And so my colleagues who direct our programs in the environment and in our social justice portfolio are really concerned with many different issues, many of which have become certainly harder in recent months in the United States as we've seen a sudden shift in our federal policies. And the heritage piece of our work, you know, the long view of the foundation was also really focused in the United States throughout most of its history. And I'd say starting maybe 20, 25 years ago, we came to kind of a difficult realization, which was just that, you know, we wanted to be the kind of partner that could really support field projects that could take some place that was important to a given community and make sure that the conservation expertise needed could be brought to bear, and that place or that collection could better serve that community moving forward. And unfortunately, we just realized that in the United States, it had become a lot more expensive and more difficult for us to be that kind of partner. So we've largely, over the last quarter of a century, been operating internationally in that part of our portfolio. And that's mostly been in, I'd say, the broader Mediterranean. With a number, I recognize that a number of you are based in Greece or Turkey, for instance, you know, and we've made a number of commitments to projects in both of those countries here over the last 20 years or so. Our involvement with this heritage and conflict was not ever part of an explicit strategic plan, right? I mean, this was something that unfortunately came, you know, due to very difficult circumstances, unpredicted circumstances. And I'd say that it really was informed by our long-term commitment to some conservation projects in Syria. So we had active work going in cities like Aleppo, for instance, prior to the civil conflict there. And, you know, that really forced all of us at Kaplan to reevaluate our comfort with risk. You know, since most of the foundation's commitments are really in the United States, that's an environment much closer to where our board members live, to the legal frameworks that we're most accustomed to. And in a sense, making commitments internationally as you know, a small staff carries with it a certain amount of risk, and that risk is compounded as soon as you're actively trying to support projects in a place of active conflict. So now, as we look across the portfolio of all of the different grants that Kaplan currently supports, it's our work in this heritage exposed to conflict that's really perhaps the riskiest work that we support, and we don't do so lightly. I mean, honestly, you know, we recognize the very real limits that we face, sometimes legal limitations, but more often just limitations in our ability to form strong partnerships, our ability to even arrange the mechanics to provide that kind of assistance across a lot of you know, frozen banking systems and mundane challenges like that. And I'll say in general, it winds up being a smaller piece of what we tend to support. That's one of the key ways in which we as a small organization try to grapple with those risks. We just know that there's a lot of conflict out there in the world, including in the geography that we're interested in. We have some very real limits as to what it is we can hope to do or hope to accomplish with a given project. And I'll say, you know, as we've done some work internally to kind of compile like a literature review of, you know, the past 20 or 30 years worth of people doing heritage work in conflict zones and publishing articles or at least project reports about what happened there. You know, one thing that is clear, to sort of summarize some of that work that we've done, is that there's really, at a time where, at least in the United States, where there's sort of a trend in philanthropy towards data-driven choices, right? Towards you know, monitoring and evaluation schemes that produce, in a sense, quantitative evidence that an intervention makes sense, you know, at a certain scale. This work to protect heritage in times of conflict, it doesn't have that kind of you know, deep quantitative support. Instead, we must rely on a certain amount of anecdote and a certain amount of core conviction. And for us, again, as a relatively small funder, as an organization that has had a chance at least to have some close ties with colleagues, you know, working with them before a time of conflict and realizing that there was a real possibility to have meaningful work continue even during very, you know, the most challenging conditions. It's been those arguments that really has helped sway us internally to continue to support this work. So you know, I'd say that the one challenge that comes in that is that you know, we often find ourselves, I'd say, struggling to bring along other fellow travelers. This kind of work, while it has, I'd say in the last 5 years, there's been some good news out there in terms of large-scale consortiums of funders, like Alif, for instance, being created to really focus on this issue. But even, you know, at a moment now where we see many sovereign states, including the United States, pulling back or stepping away from some of their public diplomacy commitments to doing this kind of international heritage work, I think we're seeing some preliminary signs that this very high risk work, this heritage and conflict work that had drawn that kind of state sponsored support in recent years is facing some headwinds at the moment. So I give you that general framework just to let you give you some context that there's from our perspective at Kaplan, there's nothing easy about trying to support heritage work in conflict setting, let alone to try and add an additional layer on top of that. And as Evangelos was alluding to, really claim that it is a tried and tested tool for, let's say, social recovery or economic recovery after a conflict. But some of the strongest evidence that we routinely encounter in all of the geographies where we work is that we really see that these heritage assets are, they're seen as a sort of a fundamental point of strength in an environment where many things, in fact, it's very easy to come up with a long list of challenges and problems. And in one of the most remarkable developments in contexts like Iraq and Yemen, those are two countries where prior to a sort of multiple cycles of conflict that in some ways are ongoing even now, the status quo was that the government controlled the heritage resources of both of those countries. And many of you on the screen might, in some sense, feel that you are also living in an environment where the government is sort of the de facto authority when it comes to many aspects of a country's heritage. That's perhaps the most common state around the world right now. That it's really very monolithic, the environment of heritage management, let's say. In many contexts, it's sort of entirely the state. And I think many of you spend your time talking to people. Some of them might be representatives of those state institutions. But I think we're starting to see some credible shifts. And I'd say particularly in these moments of post-war or post-conflict recovery, we see a real opportunity where civil society organizations, I mean, in a way that continues to surprise me, sort of self-identify heritage resources as being a cornerstone to build a broader civil society agenda around. And in part because, those are, in a sense, particularly if those are resources that have managed to survive some phase of conflict, they're just seen as something that's going right, and something that has some eternal or strength that has some longevity to it. And so we've seen in both Iraq and in Yemen, for instance, that notion of sort of state monolithic state control of heritage management has been shifting quite quickly, and more that ecosystem of practice has become something very new, compelling, and interesting, filled with fledgling civil society organizations that they're grappling with every problem you can imagine. I suppose all of you have been hearing about many of these problems as you're in routine contact with some of your partners, but they're to summarize it all, they are trying to build and operate civil society organization in a context that doesn't have much of a tradition of that. And I'd say that many of them, and I know that this is true in both Yemen and Iraq, despite the odds, they're having some success at doing that, in part because they're anchoring their work to something that has broad appeal. I mean, a lot of these heritage resources, sites, collections, archives, and otherwise, intangible traditions, these are things that maybe have a particular strength in a moment where society is trying to recover and seeking new direction. And when I put that into sort of the context of what we have found at Kaplan, one of the reasons why we have been drawn to support your ongoing work in multiple ways and on multiple occasions is just that there are often cycles to conflict, and certainly in the very the most acute instances of sort of kinetic conflict, we recognize that there's some very real limits to what any of us can do, no matter what we're trying to tackle. But certainly there's some limits to the bandwidth that anybody has to participate in a robust capacity development program. But as conditions, improves maybe only slightly. When we get to some phase of nascent recovery, we really see a routine appetite among many of our colleagues in regions where conflict is still fairly fresh, or conflict is something that shaped a generation of practice, let's say. That they want to go deeper, they want to do a better job, and I think first and foremost they're eager to hear from colleagues who are like all of you, joining the call today, who are part of an organization that has already found its way forward, has found some footing, has been able to thrive and grow a team and expand a mission. And those are, that kind of opportunity to connect and hear about, sort of successful strategies, not just for doing the sort of the technical aspect of the work, but thinking strategically about how to build an organization and even a movement for heritage protection moving forward. We have seen that the evidence that the need and thirst is there, and that you are well positioned to meet it. So I'll leave it there for now. But happy to move on to the next presentation or field questions. Evangelos, I defer to you about what is the best thing for your schedule.
It's not me, it's Richard.
Oh, Richard, yeah.
Well, I would say, first of all, thank you, Will, for your presentation and for your insights as it relates to the Kaplans and how they move on their own objectives and their own goals to be successful. I'm just curious, there may be some questions from the group. I just was curious, I mean, given the nature of the risk and the maybe the insufficient amount of data that you might receive from organizations that are in conflict, how does the board react to that? How does the family react to the fact that they may not have as much information from some of these organizations because of the risk, because of their placement from some of the more traditional things that they're funding that might be in the US, where that information is easier to get a hold of and the data is there? I mean, how do they balance that in terms of their own judgments and their own decision making?
Yeah, I mean, I say, in general, I mean, the good news is that we have some institutional appetite for that risk, and have intentionally decided to kind of take on that ability to make, relatively small commitments to organizations in environments where, we know that there's a likelihood that the project as conceived might not succeed in any sense. And I think the primary way in which we mitigate that risk is we know that in an environment like I mean, I suppose conditions are maybe improving in some real ways in Syria right now, but if we were to think about Syria as it was even 2 years ago, let's say, I mean, we had to mitigate risk by limiting the size of the kind of commitment we can even imagine. And I think that's that's one challenge for all of you moving forward, is just recognizing, I mean, there will be, I think there are still some other funders out there who see things perhaps slightly differently than we do at Kaplan. But in the environment that we're in right now, in the most kinetic phase of conflict, for instance, I think it's just a real challenge to find ways to pull together funding and resources and deploy them well, and really develop a track record around that scope of work. And there are some other organizations that are really already focused in that very acute phase of crisis response, like the Cultural Emergency Response Group in the Netherlands, and to a lesser extent, the Smithsonian Cultural Rescue Initiative in the US. But that phase really it's a little bit fluid. It has kind of a blurry tail to it, but you really, quite routinely get to a different phase in post, let's say, recovery, whether or not it's truly post-conflict, but some real phase of recovery. And that's often the phase where we see more appetite building for the kinds of capacity building initiatives that Heritage has a strong track record in delivering, but then also some of your your newer programs that are much more focused on field-based projects for conservation and repair, and that I think that that's the kind of phase where even in Yemen right now, where just in recent days the U.S. Military has been conducting active strikes in Sana'a, for instance, but there really are parts of Yemen, including I think where, if I understand correctly, Heritage has been working in the Hadramaut Valley, in eastern Yemen, and that's things are much quieter there, where you could credibly say that this is a community in recovery, right? Where there is the bandwidth to more substantively engage with some of these issues, and there's very real desire, right? And that's I think in a lot of ways that's the kind of strong evidence that suggests that this is something that these community organizations, small and nascent though they might be, they've identified like a real and compelling community need, and they're looking for outside partners to help push it forward. So that's where I think you can continue to add a lot of support and value.
Well, thank you, Will. If anyone else has a question for Will, please speak up. Anyone? I don't think I see everyone on the screen, so if I don't see a hand up or anything, and I haven't seen anybody transition to unmuting. So I'm going to thank Will for joining us, and you're obviously welcome to stay for the presentations that are going to be following. But thank you very much for joining us, and we look to partnering with you obviously into the future, and we appreciate all the support that Kaplan has provided in the past, and we hope obviously to be an ongoing partner of yours into the future. But I don't think we've met before. I do know some colleagues at Kaplan, but evangelists have spoken highly of you for many years now, so thank you.
Richard, I think we came together back when you were at American Express and attended the GCHEP network convention. So I do think we have.
I have no memory of my time at Amex.
Yeah, okay, all right.
They're just out of my head. I don't even. Did I work there? Yeah, that was some time ago. But thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, I wish you all a productive summit, and great to see you all today on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to transition into the presentations, and appreciate once more the folks who have prepared. We're going to deal as it relates to the issue of heritage resilience. And as all of you are very much aware, heritage is under increasing threat. Cultural heritage worldwide is facing escalating challenges from conflict and war, like in the Ukraine and Yemen, climate changes with rising seas, wildfires and extreme weather, neglect and funding, over-tourism. You guys in Greece know well about over-tourism, particularly in Santorini, which we've heard about extensively. Urban development resilience is essential to ensure heritage survives not just physically, but in meaning and relevance. Resilience connects communities to their heritage. Heritage doesn't exist in a vacuum. Resilient heritage empowers local communities to protect and value their own cultural identity. Encourages community engagement and ownership. Promotes inclusive practices that adapt to diverse social realities. You've already embedded this approach in your field schools. Now it's a central theme. Resilience about adapting, not just preserving modern heritage. Management is not about freezing the past. It's about adapting tools, refraining narratives, sustaining relevance in a changing world. Your work with training, festivals, oral histories, and digitization is all about building adaptive capacity. It reflects heritage's philosophy. Resilient heritage captures your ethos, training professionals to lead with values, supporting local initiatives with global expertise, fostering innovation grounded in ethics and research, It's a unifying idea that speaks to why you do what you do. It encourages inward reflection and innovation. And so thank you very much, Maria, for providing me that dialogue. It's very much appreciated. I wouldn't have been able to come up with that myself. So I thank you, Maria, for doing so. But we're going to move into the very first presentation. If I can get my screen up here. I don't know why. My machine just died. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. So the first presentation will be with Kashif Essa, Swat Valley Buddhist Heritage, Conservation Architecture, and Digital Documentation Expert for Cultural Heritage Sites. And so if Kashif is available, I believe, is there a PowerPoint presentation? There he is.
Good afternoon.
Yes. How are you? Thank you for
I'm very
joining
good.
us.
I'm very
Hi,
good.
Kashif.
Thank you so much for inviting us here. So basically today we are joined by one of our colleagues from Pakistan, Mr. Salman. Let me just share my screen if I can. So
Yes, we can
very
see it. We can see it.
okay. So very briefly, I would like to say thank you so much, first of all, for inviting us to this amazing opportunity and occasion of sharing this project. And this project is something which, from the start, from the inception, this has been all the guidance from the heritage uh, through which we were able to achieve the results which we are here to share today with you. So the project is about the preservation of Buddhist rock reliefs of Swat. And this was a grant announced by a pilot project for the Cultural Protection Fund of British Council. And in this, we had 4 partners, organizations, which helped us in developing this project. It was Heritage Management Organization. It was Italian Archaeological Mission for Pakistan. It was Directorate of Archaeology and Museums of KPK Province, Government of Pakistan, and Isanur Associates, which is an architecture practice and heritage conservation practice organization. So before going further, I will quickly like to say that today we were supposed to join together by our scientific advisor, Dr. Maya, but she was not able to attend. And then we together with me, it's Mr. Salman from Swat. He's joining us from Swat directly. And I would like to share. We would like to play our clip, a short clip of the project which we have prepared for this occasion.
If you share a screen, make sure that you click on the button that says share voice.
Okay. Just a minute, please. Okay. So very quickly, this is the documentation of the project we found. So initial part of the project was based on the documentation of the sites, which involved team to going onto various places, searching for these rock reliefs in these remote areas. followed with a training from Heritage, which was about the climate adaptation. So these are some of the visuals which you are seeing. And this is the first aid conservation work which we have carried out, in which we involved the local population and local people in getting the basic trainings on how to do the preservation work and how to carry out. It was carried under the supervision of Italian Archaeological Mission, and the head conservator for this was Mr. Marco Pinelli and Dr. Luca Maria Olivieri. So majorly, it involved the cleaning. It involved the basic treatment to protect these rock reliefs which we have found. And this is the map in which you will see the various geolocations of these sites located. We have tried to put it up in the website. This is a photo from the climate change adaptation training. With this, we have very important aspect of it, which was the intangible heritage stories, along with the trail development, including the community-based things, which very little my friend Salman will also talk about. And the last part of it was developing all these sites into 3D models. And then there are future prospects and future possibilities and the further extension of the project and how we are going to develop this project together. So this is the site which is flooded in summers, and then the last part of it was an exhibition for the community and the local people and all the stakeholders there, so to give the idea of what we have done so far. So for the first time, giving an opportunity for people to directly experience these in the museum. So this exhibition is part of the permanent display, which was this event was attended by almost 150 people, among which there were almost 40 to 50% of women, which is something a great success for us for bringing together the community. It was followed up with a panel discussion and so on. So this is just a very quick overview of what we have been doing. So very quickly, if I have time, I will just go back to the presentation to just give you an overview of what we are talking about. So basically, Swat Valley is situated in the north west of Pakistan, and this is hub of the Gandharan Mountains. And there are many rock reliefs and the various important Buddhist sites which are very important. So since 1950s, Italian Archaeological Mission was working here. So in 1989 and in 1990, the Archaeological Mission conducted a survey in which there were almost 200 rock reliefs. But unfortunately, when we were doing this survey in 2024-25, we have found only 78 rock reliefs which are left. So if you can see, all of these mountains are now, they are very fastly, urbanization is growing, and there are many various issues also, because this is a majority population, Muslim population, and there are misconceptions like this Buddhist rock reliefs doesn't represent the heritage, and this has to be something which you need to destroy or something. So there are many misconceptions, which through this project we are trying to aware communities and so on. So very quickly, this is a photo from 1989, 90s. So these are the various sites in various parts of this all this one. This is one of the site which we have found. You can see the deterioration, not only the climate-based, but also human. So at times, these rocks have been attacked, they have been destroyed, and there are some rocks which were being attacked during the Taliban time. This is Jahanabad Buddha, which is one of the largest after Bamiyan. And then you can see this is the status of the rock reliefs. Then very quickly, you can also see here how the status is and how things are going on. Some of the images from the conservation work. I would now like to introduce my friend Salman, if he can quickly wind up this part on community development and just briefly introduce himself and share something with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kashif. Sorry, my camera I turned off because of the weak internet connectivity in Swat. So, if it's okay, I can speak without camera, or maybe, if you want to turn on the video, then I can, just try again to
I
work
think it's
with.
fine. I think it's fine for you just to speak.
Okay.
You
So
speak
thank
through.
you so much. Thanks to everyone for giving us this opportunity. It's been an amazing year for us to work with all our partners, as Kashif has shared, the Italian Archaeological Mission and the Heritage Management Organization. Most of the people here we are meeting the first time, but I've met electronically with Evangelis, with the Maria and Rula. They have been really supportive to us all along. And also Dr. Maya, who has been really into the project with us all along. And, she's been involved with every step. So thank you so much for, giving us the chance and, to present this project over here. We'll just, Kashif has shared much of the progress, but, I'll just share my ideas a little bit about the project. That this initiative was devoted to preserving the Buddhist rock carvings in the Swat Valley. And these reliefs are scattered throughout the valley. They possess significant cultural and historical importance. And most of them date back to like 8 to 10 centuries. And, it was just documenting the final phase of Buddhism in the valley. And it also illustrates the close relationship between people and their environment. Since now the area is populated by the Muslim majority, so working with the project was fun as well, but at the same time it was a great challenge, as was giving the context of Swat Valley and being a conflict zone area, it was quite challenging as well. So, and the main, component of this project was digital documentation, where we have, done the whole survey and then recorded the whole geolocations of all these areas. And then, which was solely done by the Isa Noor Associates and the team in Swat, where I worked as a heritage manager with them. And then the second component was related to the first in conservation for the most at-risk sites, which was led by the Italian Archaeological Mission, Dr. Luca Maria Oliveri. He was the scientific head, and also, as you've seen Marco in the video, he was leading the team on ground and training people on this local heritage professionals, basically, in terms of working with these reliefs and all the basic conservation efforts. And then also the third component was the climate change adaptation, where Dr. Maya came here to SWAT and she delivered training to heritage professionals. 13 to 14 employees were trained from the Directorate of Archaeology, and some of them were locals. So a total of 25 participants were trained, and they learned about how to work with heritage conservation in context of climate change. And then one of the really important part of this project was the heritage management plan, which was done solely by Dr. Maya, and we have supported her with the data and all the digitization and documentation work on ground. And I think it's been shared with everyone there. I hope so. But if not, then we can maybe Kashif can share with you all as well. And one component that we came across was trail development. Since the directorate is our partner in this project, and actually they also wanted to work, bring with other projects that they want to connect with this one, like in terms of tourism and this. So we identified two potential trails with 8 to 9 heritage Buddhist heritage sites, and we had some amazing community gatherings there. We were sharing all the updates with Dr. Maya, Evangelis, and everybody. Maybe the video we can send you in more detail, maybe for if you guys want to watch. But this was the trails are basically we gathered the community, and as per guidance of Dr. Maya, we had meeting with them on how they want to develop this trail. Since community, as we have also found out that this is a really important part of this project. And if we want to work here, like in SWAT, uh, we must involve the community feedback and insights. So this was all, and we are looking forward for more work, since we are thinking of expansion. Maybe Kashif will share more about that. But just to go through like all these achievements, we have documented around 78 reliefs this time. As Kashif said, that in the past, the Directorate and the Italian Archaeological Mission is been doing these surveys, and they found out 200. But this time, due to either climate change, either due to war, as in 2009, these Buddhist reliefs were, these were hit badly by the Talibanization and all the war going on here. And then some reliefs are underground due to natural conditions, like with time, with all this accumulation of soil and all these climatic forces. So we only found out 78, and maybe in the coming phase we'll go more areas and try to locate if we have missed something. But that is what we have found so far. Then we provided the training, like in digital documentation and also in climate change adaptation. And then there was another important component, the intangible heritage stories, which were recorded here. And these stories and narratives highlighted the intangible heritage of the Pashtun community, which are currently residing in Swat, and that are linked in some way to the Buddhist heritage, like the motifs and all these patterns and the reliefs are translated into the work of artists who are working with as a stonemason, working with making pots. And then in Islampur, it's famous all over the world with these shawls, like the handloom shawls. So all these patterns are then again surfaced in that work as well of the artist. Like all these motifs are from the Buddhist time, and mostly they came from these artisans went to these heritage sites, they spent time and they learned from there, and then they came back and incorporated these things into their work as well. And then we covered stories that are covering like the rice culture of Swat. We call it, there is this special kind of rice we have in Swat, but now unfortunately with ongoing pesticide use of pesticides and all these chemical stuff, it's on the verge of like going towards hybridity. So that, and then as Kashif said, the first aid conservation component involved 39 most at-risk reliefs that we have worked with. It was quite challenging to work with these reliefs when we were working on site, since the community here don't consider the Buddhist relief as their own, and it's because of the past work. Since this work is not, presented as one, like, Pashtuns and these things are kept separate. So in this
Looks like
community,
oh,
we get on. The, so
I think
Salman, we can't hear you.
uh, there is the internet connectivity issues. So I will just quickly go through it, and then the final part. I would just like to say that as part of the project, we developed a website which has everything inside it, and it can be uh, uh, so this is everything about the project. I think that's on the side of ours, and thank you so much again, Salman, Evangelis,
Uh,
Maria.
s- sorry, I lost you for a
Yeah,
while
yeah.
because of the
Don't,
internet connection. It dropped.
don't worry, don't worry. So, thank you so much, everyone, for giving us this opportunity, and thank you, Salman, for joining
Thank you,
from
Karan.
from Swat, and everyone. If someone have any questions, comments, uh, any suggestions, we are looking forward for it. Thank you.
thank you. Are there any questions for the group to answer in reference to their presentation?
The first thing I would like to say, I hope they have understand us, and they have everyone has listened to. Were able to we were able to communicate well.
Yes.
I
No, you
hope
were.
so.
I think it was a very interesting project. We appreciate the presentation. It was great to have all those phenomenal images of the various rock art that was there, and so we appreciate that. So, any questions from the group?
Maria is raising her hand.
By all means, Maria.
Hi, thank you so much, Kashif and Salman, for this amazing presentation. It was really good, and I've followed your project, and I think it's really interesting and it's actually fascinating. But my question was, you talked a lot about the difficulty of dealing with the local community because it's majority Muslim and doesn't, in many ways, see the Buddhist heritage as its own heritage. What were some ways you used to deal with this issue? I'd be very interested to hear this.
So, so there are these very two perspectives, you know. So, number one, what we are doing is we are involving in this work very much with the local community leaders, and also in Swat there are very good institutions like universities, colleges, schools, professors, journalists, everyone. And for the first time, what we are doing is we are trying to bring them in from day one. So, for example, even if it's about planning the project, even about any execution, any work, any update, we try to bring all these together. We go to the schools, we tell them, we go to the universities, we tell them, and because through them, it's basically helping us a lot in giving this awareness from their own professors, through their schools, through the university, through various community leaders to protect this important heritage, not only something for the religious perspectives, but also as part of an opportunity for the future in terms of tourism, in terms of economic development, and also this is something part of the history which they need to value. I hope
Yes.
I'm able to. If Salman wants to add
Uh,
something.
Yes, Maria, this is a very interesting question, and we have been arranging community outreach sessions. It was like for the first time, because in the past, the Italian Archaeological Mission, they were working mostly with, the conservation side of it. But this time, we have worked with all the community, raising awareness and telling them. And one really interesting thing, which I'll tell you, that at one site in Dir, we were working with this person who was a religious leader, and it was like he asked me this question, that why you are, preserving the Buddhist heritage when you are yourself a Muslim, and why you don't do it in the mosques and stuff like that. And you know what my answer, because I knew that the directorate of archaeology was already working in Kalam with one wooden mosque, and I told him that we are also working with the mosque. We are also working with the any sort of heritage. This is not something a matter of religion, but this is something we see as an artifact. And then also talking to him a little bit about the history of this place, since like they are almost more than 2,000 year olds. So convincing in this way, and then we have recommended it in the heritage management plan as well, that this heritage should be seen as one, not as like this is the, and that's why we have even made the page as heritage of the Swat Valley, not like the Buddhist heritage of the Swat Valley. So this was a kind of experience, and he was really convinced by the end of what we have told them. And it's from there that we have learned that we need a one approach, not like dividing both the things, that it's something different or this is something different. Yeah.
Thank you both. Thank you so much. I will get back to you on that because I would like you to write something about this for our website, to be honest with you, because it's a really interesting topic. And
Yeah, you are always welcome. You are always welcome, and we are always at your disposal.
thank you. Thanks.
Well, thank you. We're going to move on to the next presentation. We do appreciate your ability to participate today and appreciate the work that you're doing, obviously, in Pakistan. And we're going to now hear from Vera on the architectural heritage in times of war, the Ukraine model. So Vera, do you have a presentation as well? Do you have the ability to show? Okay, great. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, so let me try to start the presentation mode. I have learned the shortcut for it just now, which is always exciting. So first of all, it's a pleasure to speak about our work always. And yes, my name is Vera. Some of you know me, some of you we have not yet had the pleasure to meet, but it's very nice to see everyone and hear about everyone's work. So I will speak today about the project that is currently wrapping up in Lviv, Ukraine. This is a project that is done in collaboration between Heritage and two institutions that are based in Lviv. One of them is called Skeiron, and these are experts in 3D scanning and digital documentation of built heritage sites in Ukraine, and the Kharkiv School of Architecture, which is a private educational institution from Kharkiv and originally based in Kharkiv, but due to the fact that Kharkiv for the past 3 years now, over 3 years, is frequently under attack, the school has moved to Lviv together with the students at the beginning of the full-scale invasion in Ukraine. And this project was initially supported by the public diplomacy section of the US Embassy to Ukraine. But as has been previously mentioned, the funding has been cut, and we received a termination notice for this project. So while originally it was intended to last until August 2026 as a 2-year project, currently it's on the reporting stage and the activities are being wrapped up. However, despite of everything, we have managed to do quite a lot for the first academic year, and I am excited to share all of this with you today. So this is a little bit a look into the work process. So I think as many colleagues probably can relate, the work on the project entailed numerous conversations between all partners and plannings, and support was given to the project to the extent that was needed from all sides. From the side of heritage, it's of course Maya Kominko, who has contributed a lot to conceptualizing and implementing the project. Also Rula, who is just indispensable in any kind of matters, especially the financial ones. Evangelos as well, and his advices and guidance are always very much appreciated and key on many matters. And you can also see our partners in Ukraine from the institutions mentioned previously. We have been working throughout this academic year under very different circumstances. In one of the screenshots here, you see our colleague from Skeiron, Jurko, who is wearing a helmet. That's because this was after a missile attack on Lviv, where unfortunately some of the buildings have been damaged, in historical buildings, and unfortunately there were human losses as well, and this was in the proximity to their office and to the school. So the partners, as in other projects I'm sure as well, are involved in a number of different activities in addition to the project, and all of them, especially in conditions of war, impact how the project is evolving. So again, in all these circumstances, and despite of all the challenges, we have been able to implement a lot. So the main goal of this project was and is to train a new generation of conservation of heritage architects in Ukraine, to specifically with a focus on future recovery, because of course their contributions will be indispensable in the recovery once the war ends. The mode in which the project was delivered is comprehensive training courses, which combine theory and practice. And these training courses were delivered to students who study architecture, third-year students from the Kharkiv School of Architecture and also from other architecture schools in Ukraine. So we actually covered quite a significant geography in the frame of this project, because we had students joining also from places like Dnipro, Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, and other places in Ukraine, 10 students externally apart from Lviv altogether. And we also delivered training to teachers to ensure that the training that we offer within the course can later be replicated in other architectural schools in Ukraine, so that they have tools and knowledge of how to create study courses like this and how to enhance their approach to educating heritage architects. So the topics that were covered included 3D and architectural documentation, conservation and legal standards for the preservation of heritage, and many more. So results after the first year of our project include training of 30 students from Ukrainian architectural schools, 10 academic professionals, 3D scans and architectural documentation is currently being prepared for 15 architectural monuments in Western Ukraine. So we are done with part, and part is still being wrapped up. And we also had a public program, which included 9 events as of today. And they are a combination of in-person and online events, webinars. And also there is one more event coming up in May. The link, the QR code that you see here, if you want to follow it, will take you to the YouTube channel of Heritage, where you'll be able to see the recordings of the events. And here I also want to thank the colleagues from the communications team of Heritage and Maria for always helping disseminate the work that we do and the messages that we carry and the discussion that we hold to a wide audience. So for example, in the webinars, we would normally have up to 300 registrations. Initially, we intended them for Ukrainian audiences, but in fact, we saw that they attract a lot of international participants, Ukrainians being about 50-60% of the audience, and 40% are very international, which is always a pleasure, and it's been exciting to see how things you do within one project are actually relevant to many other contexts and many other experts throughout the world. So yes, we have also been able to acquire important equipment for our partners, particularly for the Kharkiv School of Architecture. And namely, the school educates architecture students, and they were lacking equipment to educate them in things like 3D scanning of monuments and processing of large amounts of data, and their abilities to incorporate online learning have been limited. But through means of this project and through the collaboration of all the partners and the support that we have been able to receive, the school has set up 4 fully functional working stations, which allows students to work on these topics and practice these topics, very importantly, with the necessary software, both in the school with PC working stations and also in the field with laptops. Here you see a little glimpse of what the teaching for students looked like. It was held online and offline, as I said. It was delivered by experts from Heritage, but also by experts from the Kharkiv School of Architecture and from Skeiron, and we tried to combine the necessary theoretical learning with also really hands-on and practical learning for the students. So from Heritage, we have benefited from the contributions of Cornelis Stahl and of Guy Jaraev, and also from Dr. Maya Guminko, who lectured on the conservation practices. And so here you see some glimpses of that. And this is a look into our internships, which took place in February this year in Lviv, where the students have been working on 7 heritage sites in Lviv and in Lviv region, documenting them and then processing the acquired data. And then there was teaching for teachers, and this was also done in a combined mode. So part of the lectures were delivered remotely, and then there's a training component that took place in person in Lviv in January. And so you see a combination of this. And this has been a very valuable part of the project as well, and quite different than teaching of students. And the teachers that participated in the course, one of them, for example, was from Mariupol University, which got relocated to Dnipro, but still continues functioning, and of course under very limited resources and very different circumstances than originally. Many of these teachers have not had the chance to work as they teach their students with equipment like laser scanners, for example, or they haven't had the chance to teach this in an applied way. So for them, this was an opportunity to see how this is done, to understand how to implement it into the learning process. And they enjoyed it quite a lot, because this screenshot that you see here, the pink one with hearts, was prepared by the teachers for lecturers whom they met online. So lecturers from Heritage, and Guy and Cornelis and Maya as well. And this was a St. Valentine's Day, the final session, online session for teachers with them. And this was something, the way in which they summarized their experience, which is quite sweet, and it's a pleasure to share that. And so what is next is that we are currently wrapping up this project with this funding, but as common for Heritage and for this dynamic team, we never stop looking for opportunities to continue the activities, especially if they are so rewarding and so meaningful, as in our case. It's been really a pleasure to work in this project. So currently we are preparing an application for a Creative Europe call, with a deadline that is fast approaching. So you can wish us luck, and we will appreciate all the support, even remotely. Yes, and we will continue, and I'm confident that we will find ways to continue this work. And I again want to thank all the colleagues for supporting us in this project and in the future ones that are yet to come. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Vieta. Very interesting presentation, and obviously under very difficult circumstances. The ability to be able to pivot, to change locations, to adapt to the situation is pretty phenomenal. And so, congratulations to you and your team for all the work that you're doing in Ukraine. And I'm sure that the Ukrainians appreciate it. And hopefully, very soon there will be the opportunity to do post-war work. Hopefully this conflict will end this year. Okay. I think we're going to move on to the next presentation. And that's with Chala. And she's going to talk about post-earthquake cultural heritage damage assessment in Turkey. And
Yes,
so,
I try.
there she goes. Great. Thank you.
I cannot share my screen right now. Would you give me like authorization to share the screen?
I don't know if is that something that Maria, that you can do?
Yeah, already done it, I think.
Yeah, okay. Now, yeah. You can see, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So my name is Chala. It's very good to be here again with all colleagues from all around the world, working for Heritage Management Organization. So I'm going to share you our projects, which was conducted in the aftermath of February 2023 Turkey-Syria earthquakes. So let me start by briefly recalling the scale of the disaster first. And on February 6th, two massive earthquakes hit southeastern Turkey, and just hours apart. There were 8 hours between two major earthquakes. The first one was 7.7 magnitude, and the next one is 7.6 magnitude. So the epicenter was the same, Kahramanmaraş province of Turkey. And in 14 days later, on February the 20th, another third tremor shock occurred in Hatay, and it was it has the magnitude of 6.4. So in 11 provinces, 14 million people were affected, and according to the official numbers, more than 50,000 people lost their lives. So there were also these areas had a large building stock because it's where lots of layers of civilizations settled in the course of history. So we had a large scale of also the cultural heritage stock buildings. So yeah, I want to show you the map here. This is here you can see the affected region, the 11 provinces, and the light green ones, Adana, Kahramanmaraş, and Adıyaman, were the provinces that we carried out the project. So we selected these 3 cities out of 11, mostly because first, these areas have a large number of historic buildings, more than others, including both everyday structures like historic dwellings, historic houses, and important monuments. And secondly, early reports, initial reports just after the earthquake, showed that the cultural heritage in these regions had been seriously affected. That's why we focused our efforts there for the initial assessments. And of course, Kahramanmaraş was the epicenter of the disaster. So, project objectives. So, what we were trying to achieve was first, we aimed to identify the level and the type of the damage across a range of heritage sites, from like monumental structures to vernacular dwellings, houses. Second, we documented each site meticulously. We used standardized forms, photos, and expert observation. Later, we developed recommendations for conservation and stabilization. And always we try to balance feasibility with respect for authenticity, of course. And finally, we committed to transparency. We shared all the data and insight with public institutions, universities, scholars, and local stakeholders like municipalities. So our intention was not only to assess these monuments, but also, we aim to support informed decisions and inclusive decision making. And the expert team, you can see here the names of the expert team. So as you see, we had structural engineers, conservation architects, art historians, digital documentation experts here in our expert team. So they all contributed from their own disciplinary lens. What did we do? So we developed a damage assessment form, first of all. So this form was 2-page form, and it includes, I just want to, summarize what it includes. First, basic information about the structure, like structure name, its location, date of the assessments, name of the assessor, architectural features also. So building materials, building techniques, number of floors, age of the building, etc. Damage typology was also very important for us, like cracks, collapses, or foundation damage, for example, or roof damage, or ornamental losses, like, basic losses. And we assessed severity levels from no visible damage to total collapse here. And so the possible causes of the damage, we also, tried to, assess the situation. So what causes collapse or, damage to the building, like structural weaknesses, poor past interventions, or ground failure, so on. We also included recommendations like urgent stabilization or further assessments, or like an archaeological, excavation maybe in some places, and conservation actions. We visually documented every single building. So it was later, the form was a hard copy that we used on site, but later the site visits, we digitized these assessment forms through JOT form. So it allowed for efficient and standardized data collection in the field. So Mina helped us very much about this forming the JOT form. So what are the results? In total, we assessed 350 heritage structures across 3 provinces. You can see the numbers here. In Kahramanmaraş, we assessed 197 structures, in Adıyaman 71, and in Adana 82 structures. Mostly we assessed examples of civil architecture, because we also witnessed that monuments like churches or mosques were done their initial assessments right after the earthquake by the officials, by the conservation officials of the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, but the historic houses were a bit ignored. So that's why, especially rural areas and in city centers, we focused on examples of civil architecture more. So so I want to briefly, summarize what we have witnessed. Thankfully, in 130 sites, we didn't see any damage, but most of the sites were, more or less, or they were either collapsed or they had moderate damage because of the earthquake. Other than the earthquake damage assessment, we also tried to analyze the structural weaknesses of each monument. So, of course, our assessment tools were very helpful for us, help us to standardize, the report of the damage. But the true depth of the project came from the way it was rooted in collaboration, I think, across institutions, disciplines, and communities. So first of all, Heritage Management Organization, and thanks to Evangelos, we applied to ALIF Fund, and in local, we collaborated with the Association of Protection of Cultural Heritage in Turkey. Ministry of Culture and Tourism helped a lot. They provided both formal support and access to some sites, some key sites. Local authorities and museum professionals guided us through regional contexts. They offered logistical assistance. They shared their first-hand observations. So their institutional memory of these buildings, even before the earthquake, was very invaluable, really. We also partnered with academic institutions. So the researchers enriched our team with interdisciplinary knowledge and critical thinking, of course. And maybe perhaps most importantly, we listened and learned from the local residents, people who had lived in these buildings, around the buildings, with these buildings, for generations. So their also stories helped us to see what we couldn't show, I can say, the emotional and historic and the symbolic meaning of each place. So here, I just want to share you a couple of pictures when we were engaging with the communities, communicating with the communities. So here you can see priest of Adıyaman Syriac church. There is a very small Syriac community living in Adıyaman, still like 10 people, but their church was severely damaged. So we also talked to the headman of the Süleymanlı village in Kahramanmaraş. So he showed us the collapsed buildings in their village. And wherever we went, wherever we assessed, we really saw the help of the local residents, I would say. So I just want to keep it short. So these are the sites that we assessed from Adıyaman, for example, only 4 of the examples here. This Cumhuriyet Primary School was a historic landmark, is a historic landmark who was in use before the earthquake, and it sustained heavy damage, really. Tuzhan, this is an historic inn, and it experienced structural failure because of it was restored 2 years before the earthquake. Most probably, if it hadn't been restored, it might have, survived to the earthquakes because of the poor restoration practice. The building collapsed. Yeah, most minarets are very vulnerable, of course, because of their shape and everything. So there is one historic minaret was collapsed. And it shows the hammam, the Turkish bath here shows also very heavy cracking. Yeah, so another public bath in Kahramanmaraş, interestingly didn't suffer any damage, for example, the public bath. Kısıklı is an Armenian church. It sustained varying degrees of damage, especially in the higher levels of unsupported corners. And you see the historic dwellings in Kahramanmaraş on the right-hand side. Later, we also organized an international workshop as a part of our dissemination efforts. So we brought together professionals, representatives from the Ministry of Culture, local authorities, academics, and practitioners working in the cultural heritage protection. So we organized this event, this online workshop, in December 2023. So it's served not only to present our findings, the initial findings, but also it was kind of an open space, I can say, for mutual learning, collective reflection, and discussion of the future collaborations. So later, for the dissemination of the project, based on these data and field studies, we produced 3 publications. Bilingual publications. One for Adıyaman, one for Kahramanmaraş, and one for Adana provinces. And it's based mainly on the website and digital version for wider dissemination. But also we had we printed 20 hard copies for each publication for the distribution in the affected provinces. So they were written. The reports were written with a strong local focus, like ensuring the findings will be directly relevant and actionable for the most affected. We prepared detailed documentation at the district and sometimes even in the neighborhood level. So it will allow local authorities, community members, and heritage professionals to clearly understand the specific impacts in their area and respond to that accordingly. Other than these reports, this district level or neighborhood level reports, we also prepare separate site-specific reports for monumental structures, as you can see here, for example, the Hacı Veli Uşağı Church. So these documents, these reports were designed to support informed decision-making, and whether in emergency stabilization, long-term planning, or future restoration projects. Yeah, so it was not only me, of course, and not the experts here in Turkey-based experts just realized this project. I just want to thank a lot of colleagues also from Heritage Management Organization. First, Mina helped us to form the JOT form for the digitization of the damage assessment forms. Theodosia did the visual identity and design of our publications, and she beautifully developed and designed our bilingual publications. Sam Hardy, he did the proofreading. He provided the careful proofreading, I can say. Rola, of course, her support in financial coordination really, was very important for us. And of course, Evangelos, my thanks to Evangelos and for his support and project application and skillfully coordinating our relationship with the founder, with Arif Foundation. That's it. But I also want to share something here about myself. So I'm happy to share it with you. Based on this experience, based on this project experience, I was awarded a full scholarship to ICROM's post-crisis recovery training. So it was also an opportunity that allowed me to further build on what we created here. And I just met a lot of, colleagues all around the world working in heritage management during crisis. Yeah, thank you. That was all from my side.
Thank you very much. It's very comprehensive, significant amount of work that's been done there, and so appreciate the work that you've been doing as well as the report out that we've just heard. So thank you very much for your presentation, inshallah.
Without chatting further and taking away your valuable time, I just wanted to say that I'm feeling immensely proud today of all of you. None of these 3 projects presented would be possible without the work of everybody, including people that do not feel they directly contributed to these projects. These projects would not have happened if you guys did not work. And of course, they would not have happened without the very good work of all those people that presented, and some of these people that are absent, but contributed. And so I really think this is very much teamwork. So thanks very much again to our presenters. Thanks very much to all of you who took the time to listen to our colleagues. And please continue the conversation. Please make sure that you continue the feedback. Fotini and team will be there to take more criticism and more insights so that they can be compiling their own feedback into this. Maya and team, again, the same. And so thank you all for doing this, and very many thanks to Maria and Richard for putting the summit together, 2nd time in a row, and making this into a great success. I was immensely proud to hear of all this, and thank you very much all for being here.
Thank you very much, Evangelos, and thank you, Maria, for all the work, and Bethany for all the work that you put in today, and your team. We're going to come up with a date for the next one sooner rather than later, so that we can get it on people's calendars and so that they can commit the time, because we don't have a full complement of folks here, but we would like to get more folks involved who are on the team. So we'll be getting that out earlier. And so look forward to a email from Maria or from myself with a new date, probably during the fall timeframe. And so we'll hopefully find a time that is advantageous for everyone. But have a great week, everyone. Enjoyed being here with all of you, and we will catch up again probably in the fall. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the week and have a great summer. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
For hosting, Richard.